The stock market has taken a nosedive, while consumer prices have spiked the most since 2008. Is a surge in COVID cases the culprit, or is something else driving this plunge in the market? What's the president's response to the economic freefall, and what does it mean to your wallet? Jenna Browder explains from Washington.
Yesterday, stocks skid as virus fears shook the markets. The Dow falling 2.1%, the S&P down 1.6% after setting a record the week before. In another sign of worry, over the past year, consumer prices have jumped 5.4%, the most since 2008.
We also know that as our economy has come roaring back, we've seen some price increases. Our experts believe, and the data shows, that most of the price increases we've seen were expected and are expected to be temporary.
At the White House, President Biden hit back at what he called doom and gloom predictions and defended his record on the economy.
6 months into my administration, the U.S. economy has experienced the highest economic growth rate in nearly 40 years.
Conservatives argue Biden inherited an economy already making a strong recovery from the 2020 COVID shutdowns. The president called on Congress to pass a $1.2 trillion bipartisan infrastructure package aimed at fixing roads, bridges, and broadband.
We should be united in one thing: passage of the bipartisan infrastructure framework, which we shook hands on.
On Capitol Hill, Republicans and Democrats are battling over the details of that bill. They have until Wednesday to make it happen before Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer forces a Senate vote.
Well, we're still working on it. Chuck Schumer, with all due respect, is not writing the bill, nor is Mitch McConnell, by the way. So that's why we shouldn't have an arbitrary deadline of Wednesday.
Of greater concern is the $3.5 trillion social infrastructure plan, which pours federal dollars into entitlements like childcare, college tuition, and green energy initiatives. Republicans are solidly opposed to the plan, and economic experts believe it will harm the economy in the long run. Republicans stand unified in their opposition to the social infrastructure plan, and even some Democrats are expressing their concerns. The White House needs every Democrat vote to bypass the GOP and pass it through reconciliation. In Washington, Jenna Browder, CBN News.
You know, folks, we all want infrastructure. We want good roads. We want the airplanes to fly appropriately. We don't want a bunch of potholes. We don't want bridges breaking and falling down. I mean, there are obviously some problems. So we've gotten the deal together, a bipartisan group has said, okay, we'll pass it. But the trouble is the Democrats want to slip along with this so-called budget reconciliation and put through an enormous package of social deals where these children are put into public schools, free tuition in colleges, all kinds of social spending, and the Green New Deal. And the American people don't want that. As somebody said, we didn't vote for socialism, and that's socialism. Well, anyhow, let's take a look at the stock market. CBN financial editor Drew Parkhill is with us right now. And Drew, look, is this a momentary pause in a bull market, or is this something more serious?
No, this is a momentary pause in a bull market. How long that pause is going to last, Pat, we don't know. The media was blaming it on COVID, and I knew they were going to blame it on something. I thought they probably blamed it on the big spending bill, which they didn't. They said, oh, it's the rise in COVID cases. Well, they're not at that level yet. But, Pat, you know how the market works. I mean, the excesses have been building up. The Russell 2000, which I know you follow, which is smaller stocks for people out there in TV land, that's been going down for a while. So there was fewer and fewer stocks going up, and that's always a sign that you're going to have a drop. We did Monday. We may have some more sideways moves, wild up and down swings for a while. But longer term, the market's going to go up. It's not going to be a raging bull market necessarily, but it's going to keep going higher over the years ahead.
You have forecast the Dow is going to hit 10,000. What do you think?
100,000? Yeah, it's going to go before this is over. Now, this is down the road. This is not next week. This bull market will top out, and you can quote me on this, around 155,000 on the Dow, plus or minus 10,000 or 5,000 points, between 150 and 160,000.
So people are watching this. I mean, the market is funny. I mean, it's individual stocks. So
exactly.
Do you say stay invested or get out, or what?
No, I think longer term. I mean, I mean, you can have an ETF, which is basically the whole market in one stock, like SPY or QQQ, or you can have individual stocks. I mean, it's up to everybody what they want to do. But longer term, the overall market's going to go higher. Individual stocks will have their own, ups and downs, but overall, the market's going to go higher, no question, depending on some of the problems we see out of Washington.
What about this crazy spending of trillions of dollars that Biden wants on so-called entitlements that'll never go away? What kind of impact will it have on the economy?
Bingo. That's a big problem. I want to look. Here's the problem, Pat. I've got a graphic I want to show in a second, but before I say that, I want to point this out. These programs, as you just said, they never go away. They become institutionalized. They become part of the government. So let's say the Republicans take the House next year and the Senate, and a Republican wins in 2024, 2028, whatever, and he wants to make some cuts to these programs that Biden and the Democrats want to create. The media will go crazy. The Democrats will go crazy. You'll hear the whole heartless Republican thing. So what you're going to have is bigger and bigger government and more programs. Now, I want to show you this quote from the Wall Street Journal yesterday talking about Biden's programs. Every new Biden program is a burden on the economy, reducing its natural market-driven ability to create high-paying jobs while entrenching state-run, impossible-to-kill zombie entitlements. That was an opinion column in the Journal yesterday, which really sums it up the way a lot of people are thinking. Because, Pat, the big battle in Washington now over this $3.5 trillion bill is not going to be Republicans and Democrats. It's going to be Democrats versus Democrats. Because a lot of moderate Democrats are really worried about this big spending, and they're really worried about these taxes. Every time I turn around, I'm reading about a new tax increase they're talking about. And there's no way you can get all these and sustain an economy that would be as strong as it would be otherwise.
Drew, thanks for your insights. Drew Parkhill, our economics editor. And ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here, and I believe in what he